In today's video, I'm going to be using dollar store supplies to see if I can make, decent quality, decent looking art with cheap supplies. But before I do that, I just wanted to announce the winner of the giveaway, which ended last week. All of the entries were my very close friends, so yeah, I'm just excited for this giveaway. And the winner is Verium. Please check your messages from me. Thank you for entering, and I'm looking forward to having more giveaways in the future. If you are interested, I don't know, let me know, subscribe, just, the things that YouTubers say. But yeah, just jumping back into the video, I think there is an important discussion to be had about the use of, you know, cheap versus expensive supplies because you do see arguments from both sides, right? So you have one side that says, usually beginner artists, I think you would hear this from, saying things like, I don't have the best quality supplies. My supplies aren't the same as my favorite artists, and so I can't make art. And on the flip side, you have those who say, supplies don't matter at all. What matters is skill. And I think I agree and disagree with both to a certain extent. Before I explain my point, though, I want to make the distinction between cheap supplies versus low quality supplies, right? Um, because expensive does not mean good quality, and good quality does not always have to mean expensive. There are some good quality supplies out there that are more affordable than what a lot of our favorite professional artists are using. So I guess my just point is that cheap doesn't equal low quality and expensive doesn't equal high quality. So I'm just going to use the terminology low quality and high quality. So I'm going to refer to these supplies in terms of their quality instead of their price point. So I do agree that you can make art with any supply out there, cheap, expensive, low quality, high quality, and that skill matters to a certain extent where, you need to have an understanding of certain aspects of art to achieve a look that you're going for. So let's say you are somebody who works with color. Even if you use the most expensive paints and supplies out there, if you don't understand the how colors work together, how to blend colors and whatnot, you may struggle achieving a certain look that you're going for. I also agree that supplies don't matter to a certain point uh, when you are a beginner artist. So if you are just trying to see which mediums you prefer, trying to experiment, trying to um, stylize things, I don't know, trying to understand art more, then yeah, it becomes a little bit harder to experiment when you are using expensive supplies or supplies that are so high quality that they become so precious to you. And given that it is important to experiment with art, try different techniques, try different looks, then I think in that aspect, cheaper supplies might be better. I actually felt that with this video where when I was filming it, I felt so relaxed. I think I had this a lower expectation placed on me where I thought, even if it turns out bad, it's okay. Um, and I approached it in a way more relaxed mindset. And if more affordable or quote unquote, lower quality supplies helps you get into that mindset, then as a beginner, that might be helpful, right? But I disagree to a certain extent because you can't sell a majority of these pieces, I would say. So if you want to sell your piece, the original, oftentimes it's better for the supplies to be higher quality. But again, if you're a beginner, maybe you are not looking into selling your art pieces yet and you're just trying to develop your art skills. But then again, if the supply is low quality, wouldn't the process be frustrating then? For instance, when I was painting this, I was applying a lot of pressure to the paper with the pencils, to make sure I was getting a bit more pigment. And that kind of meant that my wrists started hurting later on. So if you are constantly fighting against the supplies, if you're trying to, you know, just make the supplies work properly, then how do we expect you to focus on developing your skills, right? When your focus entirely is placed on just getting a vibrant color. And for many artists, the process of creating is the fun part, right? At least that is for me. And if you are not having fun in the process of creating art because of your supplies, how do we expect you to continue to make art? And if you don't make art, how are you going to improve your art skills, right? So I think there are just aspects that need to be considered with both sides of the argument. Like for me, when I kind of not improved, I kind of upped the quality of my watercolor paper. That made such a big difference in the creation process. It made it so much easier to make art, which by proxy could mean that you might have more fun in the process of creating, which then could encourage you to create more. I don't know, it's just when I hear artists say that supplies don't matter at all, it makes me think like you can't expect these artists themselves to create the same quality of work with lower quality supplies and higher quality supplies. I mean, they will for sure, in my opinion, both look good. And I mean, good is also kind of subjective, but they won't have the same quality, right? Maybe one of them will be less saturated, one of them will be less vibrant, one of them will have better blending, right? They won't have the same quality, in my opinion, if you use lower quality versus not expensive, higher quality supplies. So, my advice as someone who kind of agrees and disagrees with both sides is that because supplies do matter to a certain extent in certain aspects of the creation of the piece, my advice would be that you try to find budget friendly options of supplies that are still good quality. So, maybe the dollar store supplies may be lower quality even though the price is low. Not supplies like that, but maybe, watercolors by Crayola, I heard they're good, or like the Crayola pencils. So maybe not going for, colored pencils by Prismacolor, but maybe going for a bit more budget-friendly options, but that are still good quality. I don't know if I'm making sense. So what I'm just trying to say is that there are supplies out there that are good quality and at a lower price point. So if you're a beginner artist and seeing these professional artists use super expensive supplies, don't get discouraged. Still make art, but also if you're a professional artist who has all these expensive supplies, I think it's important to be realistic and not, say to beginner artists that your supplies don't matter at all, because I think it's important that we acknowledge that after a certain point your supplies do matter. And low quality and high quality supplies will most likely not give you the same effect or the same process, if that makes sense. And that being said, this is how the finished piece turned out. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you sometime soon.